There are other ways to get rid of little blemishes on images, whether they're generated or it's a regular photograph that you take. Uh, like you could kind of smudge some colors around, if the blemish is small enough. But this was way big, and we wanted to maintain like the natural like hair looking pattern going on. We didn't want to, you don't want to blend that too much, or you're just going to end up with a smudgy looking thing. So we wanted to maintain the texture, and creating those little stamps, just kind of stamp the hair across the face and then use the eraser tool to get the parts that you don't want stamped over, like the little whiskers. At this point, we're going to try to remove the background, but this first pass, we only got like one channel. We didn't get all of it, and you can see that here where we try to erase this little bit of leaf on the side, and now we can see to the alpha channel. So we're going to delete all of that. So in the background, we're looking at alpha channel, and this is what gives us the transparency that we need to create PNGs and later SVGs. So this is the part where, oh, okay, there's probably like 5 or 6 different ways to do this depending on what tools you're using. I am using GIMP, and I am not a raster image editor. I can edit raster images. It's not my favorite. I prefer to work with SVGs, illustrations. You can get cleaner lines on things. You don't have to worry about pixelation. This image is a very good example of all the things that I try to avoid when dealing with images. We've got a lot of fuzziness, a lot of artifacts still left after we pulled out the dark color from the background. So we have to go in and clean all that up. Now, if someone were an expert at dealing with raster images, they would have a great method for doing this, but I'm neurotic about it, so I'll just crank the eraser tool up to a very uh, large area and just start chipping away at the image until I feel like I've got what I want from it. Still, there's always going to be some things that are kind of hard to deal with. This is where I'm kind of looking at the eyes and trying to figure out whether I want to change them or not, because obviously the one on the left is messed up. Okay, so now we're in Inkscape. We've taken that, just a copy of what we have in GIMP. We're going to paste it into Inkscape, and we're going to see what kind of stamp we can get out of this. It's basically a bitmap trace. So from that raster image, we can create a vector image, but we want to have a little better quality on it before we try to convert it to a different file format. So instead of using the eraser tool, which is not precise, you'll end up with like fuzzy blurred edges. We can use the lasso tool to go back in and weed out all of the color, all of the little mistakes that we don't want. So this is the part where I gave up on the eraser tool and switched over to the lasso to get the quality that I want, not just for printing this on a t-shirt or whatever, but it's got to be pretty clean when you move it over to Inkscape, or you would have to manually go in and try to pull all these nodes out. So it's better to just clean them up in GIMP while you have that original raster image in there. And with this one, I actually didn't do too much work. I didn't do anything. I have no SVGs created from this. I did one sample to see what the bitmap would look like, and I don't hate it, but the image really needs to be broken down a lot more to be able to work with it in that format. So for right now, it's just, like a clever little image that we got from Gemini. It's a Gemini generated image. Google Gemini. Just going to make, well, these aren't minor adjustments. To an expert Photoshop person, this would be very minor. They'd probably have this done in 5 minutes. But like I said, because I'm not, that's just not my deal. Like I definitely lean more towards a different style of uh, creating, handling, working with, using, laying out, setting up images, uh, photography, and stuff like this. It's just not really, it's not my wheelhouse, not my comfort zone, but I like this image a lot. So I figured I could make a few small adjustments. So this is where I'm like, all right, let's get serious about the eye. Just kind of, this is the buffing technique I was talking about. If we had done that over where the golden smudge was, then we would lose any of the detail that we had with the hair. And the resolution on these images that are output is not that great. Like as far as putting it on a shirt, for this, I can't make it cover the whole front of a shirt. It's going to be like a little bigger than pocket size. Not very big, and that's so that we don't end up with something that's really blurry. Here's the part where we got to go in and just kind of fine tune the edges on this thing. The edges don't have to be sharp and perfect right now. Um, Especially not knowing like what we want the final outcome to be, because this is the kind of thing where it could definitely be paired with text and used to promote something or just be something clever or funny. I liked it a lot. I got another one that's kind of similar to it. I thought this was the better of the two, and I'm looking forward to working with it some more. So this is like just a first pass at getting something that I can work with to see, well, how's this going to look on a shirt? Would I wear the shirt? Spoiler alert, it does go on a shirt mock-up, and I would wear it. Still using the eraser tool because I don't care too much about having soft edges on these lines, because I know whether it's black, the shirt black or white, dark colored or light colored, to take this image and put it on top of that background, um, these little artifacts or whatever, they're not going to be very prominent. Like there's no hard edge on this whole image. There's no super dark black outline around anything at all. So we don't necessarily need super sharp outlines around this stuff. Part of it is smoke, which in and of itself does not have a hard outline in reality. And then on the other side, these flowers are just kind of meant to fade a little bit off to the edge side. It's not the main focal point of the image. That panther is a panther, right? The panther face is. That's what's going to draw the attention. And that's why I decided to change the eye on the left, because if the person looking at this image, if their eyeballs are working correctly, then they would notice like those eyes are messed up. So that's more important to fix. Here we're just making a couple of duplicates of the image so that we can mess around with hue, chroma, lightness, contrast, just getting different color variations. So I have one that's really bright, and then I have another one where we've taken the coloring for the panther face and brought that to black, which I think looks really nice. The other one, the more blue toned one, that's pretty good, but black just kind of makes more sense to me. I like both of them. So, oh yeah, it says it right over there. Gemini generated image. Not sure what the holdup is here. I was probably thinking like, well, what am I going to do with these? Or I might have been distracted by something. Here's where we're just going to put it on a shirt, see what it looks like. Women's ideal racerback tank. Find the version that we want to work with. We're going to go with the bluish colored one to start. And if we look over on the right, well, not on this, but when you're not looking at the variants on the side, this is the Printify platform, it will show you the resolution of the image. and whether you're veering into um, low resolution, poor, medium. It's got a gauge on it, which is helpful because you can't always tell with the raster images. So that's where you pick the different variants on the side. I might have to pause it because this thing is going so fast. Or, oh, oh, it's done. Well, yeah, you don't even see that. But I can show you what, no, it's Printify. Not Sprintify, Printify. Okay, so if we look at this and then edit the design, we can see this one's at a medium resolution, 188 dpi. So if I make this a little bit smaller, it'll bring it up to high resolution. And if I make it bigger, then this is going to go down even more. So this is what I settled on for this because I actually looked at this for a long time. That was probably like one of the moments it was paused or seemed like nothing was happening on the video. I was just trying to come up with something, some clever wording to put with it, but came up with nothing and just left it as such. But for me, it's not worth it to try to get like a higher resolution. I mean, this image is just going to be limited to, this size on a shirt or smaller. There's just, without an extensive amount of work, it's going to be really hard to get this image up to a quality where we can make it bigger on the shirt and not lose the resolution. With an SVG, it's different. So we can leave out of here and, well, let's look at the catalog and we'll just look at a regular shirt. Let's start with this one. Start designing. And we're going to upload a new image, and I'm going to intentionally use an SVG file. And we can go to a merge folder and we'll look at, I think I have a moth that, yeah, that says tattoo lady face. That's the wrong one. Death moth, vivid beauty. See this little black icon? Scalable vector graphics. So we're going to open that. And that works. And it says over here high resolution vector. So I could just endlessly, it's never gonna change the resolution. And this kind of rounds out the point I was making earlier, like the raster images just aren't my thing. This actually started out as a raster image and got converted to a vector, but it was very easy to do because see how this is like an illustration? It's not a photorealistic picture. There's not a lot of variation in tone and color here. I mean, there kind of was on the original image, but it was relatively easy to pull these dark lines from it and end up with an image that I could put on a shirt. I actually have this on a shirt and I love it. It's great. All right, that will do it for this round of let's take an AI generated image and put it on a shirt.